Hi, my name is Andrew Fragias and welcome to today's session. We're going to go through today 22 years in the making is still not optimized for users. Or is it? So before we get started, a quick introduction myself. My name is Andrew Fragias. I'm a product manager here at Validity. I have 4+ years of working on Salesforce CRM and Salesforce Marketing Cloud. I've helped businesses implement them. I've helped businesses maintain them and also enhance them. I'm also a Salesforce Answer Leader, Salesforce Certified Admin, and of course a Salesforce Trailhead Ranger. So when we start to think about optimization, there are essentially 3 inseparable principles that come into play: adoption, productivity, and data quality. Now, when you separate one of them from the 3, you're quite not achieving optimization and productivity overall, right? Without adoption, there is no productivity. Without good data, your users won't have the faith in your system. They won't adopt it. And also you won't be able to get timely updates and actionable intel. One thing to note as well that's very important is 87% of salespeople say their companies require them to use a CRM system to track their activities. Whilst at the same time, 78% admit that they only check the boxes. So it's pretty clear that, in this day and age, everyone is using CRMs, right? But overall, the people using it, so your end users, they only do the bare minimum. Now, from a business standpoint of view, from an analytics standpoint of view, this is not enough, right? We want our users to be enhancing the data as much as possible, giving as much information so we can drive business decisions off that. So, what comes in the box when you purchase Salesforce? For when it comes to optimization and productivity, there are a couple of things that are available. The first thing here is list views. Now, list views are a single object view. They allow inline editing to an extent, so there is the limitation around certain field types. And also, if you don't have the same record type, you can't apply inline editing. You get a filtered view, which is pretty handy, narrowing down the data you want to work on. You also get to sort the data and must be the same record type. So owner fields are a key thing that can't be inline edited with any object. Filter logic must be removed in order to use inline editing as well. Another thing, reports. So with reports, you get multi-objects. So not just looking at the single object, but you got multi-objects. And with that comes the potential for duplicates. Inline editing is out at the moment. It's in beta. It doesn't support a large range of field types and scenarios such as task and event fields, pick list, custom date time, and even standard fields of type date time, auto number, roll-up summary, record type, master detail, long text area, rich text, or hierarchies. Filter view gives you a filter view with cross-object filtering as well, which is important. So for example, accounts that have an opportunity of a particular stage, or accounts that have a contact. The ability to sort is there as well. You have groupings, so this is again making your data nice and condensed in an actionable way. And summaries and conditional formatting. Now with conditional formatting only applicable to summaries with a max of 5 rules per lightning report. What's important to note is that when you start to build on these and with multi-objects, you start to increase the chances of duplicate records happening. If you don't build your report correctly, or even sometimes, even if you just group it by the wrong field, you start to see duplicate records appearing, skewing your summaries and your counts that you have. Related lists. Now this is handy. This is multi-object, obviously, and it allows sorting as well. This related lists allow you to pull data from all your related objects in, right? And the limitation here is a read-only view, but it centralizes the various interactions and data collected. So if we're looking at an account like this example here, I get that whole overview, which opportunities are with this account. Have they been open? Have they been closed? What was the amount? Contacts as well. And it only displays a limited number of fields. So that's another limitation there, as well as a limited number of records overall. The activity timeline. pretty handy overall. This has all task events and emails all in one place. It's a simple creation of records. So as you can see in that screenshot, you just click recap call and you go from there. You can put in any information. You can do it on the fly as well. Flows. Now this helps productivity overall. You have record triggered, you have screen flows and automations as well to it. So this has a level of automation to how you're going to interact with your data. So given a certain stage progression, then the following records are created or the following screen is shown so users can input additional data. The only one key limitation is the imagination and the planning, right? Sometimes people tend to overthink their planning for it and creating too much of a flow, or they tend to simplify it too much. The setup time increases with the complexity overall, and you got to be careful of governor limits, right? So depending on what tier you have depends on the number of active flows as well. So depending on the tier of Salesforce you have, will depend on the amount of active flows you can have. So is this enough? So when we look at our users, we look at our productivity, our optimization of Salesforce in general, is this enough to get us over the line? And the simple answer is no, right? And the reason being is poor optimization hurts. When you think about a poor optimization, 70% of executives agree that customers, prospect and account data comes from too many sources to easily make sense of it. So what this means is, yes, we may have some things available to us that can sort of pull the data together. There is still quite a wide range of executives that are looking into the fact that there is too much data coming in from different places and not enough unification overall. 45% of employees agree that complex processes and workflows cause some of the biggest challenges. So one of the easiest mistakes to make is by adding too many fields or too many validation rules or too many steps in the process of data capture, right, inside your Salesforce. So by making it too difficult for an admin to implement, then it becomes impossible, right? For a end user, they will just give up very easy. Salespeople, service people want to spend time hitting their targets, and their targets isn't to input data. Their targets are to sell, to make money for the business, or service is time to closure, or SLAs, right? That is what they want to be focusing on. They don't want to be focusing on the mundane tasks of updating the data. And of course, going and saying that 17% of a salesperson's day is entering data. So as a business, we want them focusing on selling. As a salesperson, they want to be focusing on selling because that's their commission. That's how they make their living, right? We want to be making sure we can better use that time overall. So what is the importance of productivity, especially in the shift to remote work? This day and age, with the pandemic that's happened, everyone's shifted to remote work, right? So now more than ever, productivity is important. Why is it important? 55% of executives and 49% of employees noted information access challenges. So now that we're moving to remote work, people aren't able to access the data they could easily. Before you could have a conversation with someone, it's very easy to have a conversation with someone, in the office, they'll be able to tell you where to find it. Now, if you got to turn to someone who you want to get some assistance from, they're probably busy, right? And so you need to find this data on your own. And going to find that data is a lot more difficult. 49% of employees noted productivity challenges. So again, by being from remote, you kind of don't have the ability to, keep on top of things, understand how to use a system better. I remember, interacting with your colleagues in work, in the actual workforce, and you would learn from each other how people use Salesforce differently, how people are using different applications differently to make their days faster, right? Less time on the admin, more time on the selling. 71% of C-level executives believe sales productivity is critical to achieving growth. right? So it looks like, by the sounds of it, people are aware of how important productivity is, right? But overall, not much has been done about it, right? If you look at the bare necessities that come out of the box, it only gets you so far. Whereas we know there is an issue, executives know there is an issue, that sales productivity is crucial to the business. Without that productivity, again, the common example of sales, but with service, anyone, you're not able to excel your business. You're not able to provide that high quality standard to your customers. So how can productivity go wrong? And this is very easy to go wrong overall. A lack of training. So without proper training, people aren't able to use the system properly. Then they take longer to input the data, or they even give up and don't input the data correctly. A lack of adoption. Now this goes hand in hand, like we said, with that original diagram of 3, with data quality. All right, so if the data quality isn't great, then users aren't going to adopt it. Also, if it's not an experience that they are used to, then it's going to be even harder for the users to come around to adopting Salesforce or come around to adopting it to its full extent. Now, adoption is a two-part, right? It's not just how many users are logging in. It's of those users or of your employees, how many of them are completing all of their activities correctly in Salesforce. There's a lot of customers that I worked with where their users are still taking exports from reports, manipulating data in Excel, and then giving that back to an admin to upload, right? That's not ideal. You want to be making sure that those processes that are happening outside of Salesforce are happening inside of Salesforce. And people shouldn't be afraid to do that. A lack of automation, right? So if you're progressing a deal, you get onto the second stage of the opportunity, and certain fields are meant to be filled in. With no prompt, the users aren't going to go ahead and fill it in. Yes, you can mark them mandatory, but the more mandatory fields you mark, the more complex your process becomes, and the slower the users become overall. Another thing which is contradictory to the previous point, right, on the last slide, where 71% of C-level executives believe productivity is due to growth, overall, there is a lack of executive enforcement on productivity. So you identify that it is key to growth, but enforcing it is out of the picture, right? So we need to make sure that, as an admin, you're grabbing your executive champions, not just your users champions or your manager champions. You need your executive enforcement in it as well, making sure that productivity is really drilled into your users. Again, going back to that triangle, poor data quality. If your data quality isn't up to scratch, your users are going to spend lots of time searching for information, trying to get to the right amount of information they need, or trying to make sense of the data that's in front of them. If the data isn't standardized or you have duplicates, then you'll never fully understand what is happening with your customers. And on top of this, 57% of executives noted that they were unable to maintain their customer engagement levels during the shift to remote work because their CRM systems were not well integrated and accessible. So a lack of integration and a lack of accessibility is a driver of where it can go wrong. And finally, 60% of executives agreed that employee productivity and engagement suffer because of insufficient technologies and tools. So what this tells us is that what is there is not enough. Right now, what companies have at their hands is not enough, and they need to go outside of the box, looking for an additional support somewhere else. So how do you boost your productivity? Well, Grid Buddy Cloud to the rescue here, right? So with Grid Buddy Cloud, you have the ability to unify your data across any custom or standard object. You can create multiple relationships, bring them into the single view. You also increase user adoption. It's in a grid-like view, which people know and love, right? People are used to an Excel type format. They are used to this functionality having all in one place. And on top of that, that gives you mass updates of data regardless of record type, regardless if it's a standard field or a standard object, or regardless of anything like the sort. So let's have a look at a demo. So the first thing I want to show you here is a brand new feature we have called import related lists. This allows you to take page layouts and the related lists from them and generate a series of grids and tabbed page. That tab page can then be used and referenced in the Lightning component to replace your related list with actionable and editable related objects. So very simple. You select your data source that you're on, the object that you want, and you can do this from multiple objects and multiple layouts in the same time. And then you can also, if you wanted to, rearrange your objects or get rid of them right in that when it's generated. When I'm ready, I go ahead, click generate tab pages, and it'll go ahead and generate that for us. Now before I navigate away from this, one thing also to note is we have the ability to take the things your users are used to but aren't quite there yet or fully fleshed out is list views. Take them and turn them into grids straight away. You can take grids from multiple objects across multiple data sources in the one time and convert them all to grids. They're easy, ready to go, so you can actionably your data as quick as possible. So let's look at this import related list and embed it inside an account. So I'm on my account here. I go to my related, and as you can see, it's got the Grid Buddy Cloud Lightning component embedded here, referencing that tab page that was generated. This is showing all the opportunities that are relevant to the account that I'm looking at. I can go ahead if I wanted to. I've got the contacts as well, the duplicates, the cases, and any other number of related objects. And again, this is all relevant to the record I am looking at. So once I go ahead, I'm happy with this. I want to mass update these records. Very simple, I can mass update these records, change the status to prospecting, apply to all records, and it's as easy as that. Right, I click save and it's applied those updates accordingly. If you wanted, you could take that step further, taking the template that was generated and add your related objects onto them. So, enough of that, let's look at what the grid does in general. With a grid in Grid Buddy Cloud, you're able to distinguish a parent object. So you can see here, I built this grid. It's one of our out-of-the-box ready grids on the opportunity object. You can build them off any custom or standard object. And you're allowed to have some groupings. You can have summaries added to it as well. You've got conditional formatting. So you can see here, I'm looking at this grid and it's all in red. That tells me straight away I need to action this because all the close dates are in the past. So let's go ahead and mass update all the close dates while we're at it. So we'll set them all to the end of next month and we'll apply it to all records. And it's easy as that, right? It's updated all those 100 records that are on your page you're looking at right now. From here, you've also got inline editing. Easy to update. I want to update this negotiation. I said next one is next step is follow up with the customer. We've also got your data card options. So this is any fields that aren't used as common, right? You might want to hide it. For example, close loss reason isn't used at every part in the opportunity process, right? Only certain parts you want to put a close loss reason. You can go ahead and use a data card there. Expanding this, and this is where the pooling of your data comes into play. If you have multiple Salesforce orgs, or if you have other sources of data, Grid Buddy Cloud allows you to pull that data in and relate it to the record you're on. So for example, if I had records coming from another Salesforce org that was service-based records, I can pull that in here. I can action the data accordingly. So I've got my contacts. Again, same rules apply as the top. You can apply grouping, you can put conditional formatting, inline editing, mass updating, all of that applying here with your data card as well. You can go ahead and create records all from the one space. Now on top of all of this, you've got your filtering, which is up here in the right, but a new feature we got is the ability to search. So say for example, I wanted to find all the opportunities related to that oil search, and it's gone and found them for me. It's pulled them all together in the one place, and it's as easy as that, right? And I can make specific, right? We know this one needs analysis. Okay, this looks like we shouldn't action it right now, so we'll close lost this. And I'll go back from my search, and I can continue with the other ones that I'm working on. Very simple and easy to use. This increases your productivity overall, right? So that's when we talked about expanding your productivity. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening, and hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and have a great day.